Welcome back out here to the ranch, guys. We are about to complete the beams on this, and if you saw my last few videos, you know it has been a struggle trying to get these beams in, but we split the last beam in the last video, and we're gonna go ahead and put this one in. It's gonna be the sidewall beams, and those are gonna be half width beams. That's usually what you'll see. So the next task I'm gonna get into is getting this door hung. Look at that solid white oak right there. You can see the kind of tongue and groove where they built this thing. Beautiful piece of millwork. But we're gonna get this pre-hung. This one goes right here in this opening. So I've got my jamb parts right here, and there's my header. And then I've already got the markings out for where my hinges are gonna be. So I'll route those out. I'll take this back downstairs, but I ripped these from a 7 1/4, and you can see the ends there from our job site table saw are a little not up to par. They've got the saw marks on them, so I'll plane those edges down and I can clean that up real quick. Now I'm going to take my hinge side downstairs and get that mortised out. You can see my hinge layouts here. Got one there, one here. Each one of these 8-foot doors is going to have 4 hinges. And to do this on just a few doors, we just mock up this simple little jig for routing out. They do have bigger jigs where you can lay it across the whole jamb and then route out each one and kind of adjust where you put your hinges. But for this, just a handful of doors today, this little jig is gonna be fine. So all I have to do, see my 2 lines right there, I can just take my jig, it's set up to reference, and I can push it against the edge of the door jamb and clamp it down. I'm gonna clamp it to the table saw here and make sure nothing moves. And then to route out, we're gonna use a flush trim bit, my bearing down here at the bottom, and I've got it set to plunge in and cut and route out 1/8 of this material here. And we will be using square hinges for this. So obviously the router is gonna give us that circle, that radius edge. So when I put our temporary hardware in, it's gonna fit nice and perfect. But this is just temporary hardware while the painters do their finishing. Then we'll replace each one of these pieces. But this will be it for now. But I'm gonna go ahead and chisel that. And I'm gonna do that with this. This is called a corner chisel. You punch this bar down right here and that sharp edge comes out and then chops the radius corner right here. So I'll just put it in the corner, give it a smack, and just that little smack, just pull that piece out of there. Gives us our nice 90-degree corner. You can see our before and after. Do the same thing to my other side. Give it a nice little smack. Again, just pull that piece out. And this one is made by Trend. I'll link that in the description so you guys can check it out. All right, so you guys can see I have all 4 of my hinges routed out now. So we're gonna take this piece back upstairs. Got my door laying here. Important thing to note, you wanna make sure that you don't have a bevel on your door. I know these are square edge, so a lot of times you'll have like a slight bevel, and that determines which way the door is gonna close and swing when you do this. And another important note, you only get 1 shot at this, especially on a stain grade. There's not gonna be any patching in Bondo. So to ensure that I do it exactly where I want it, I'm actually gonna clamp this piece to my door with the reveals that I want and mark exactly where these go. Because you could, yes, just take a tape measure and then measure down and then kind of figure out where you want to be. But that's not as precise as I want to be here. I want to be dead on. So we're going to clamp this piece together. I'm going to clamp this right here. And then throw another one on down here, just roughly. Like that. And what I'm looking for is I want 1/8 right here. And that's more than 1/8. I'm gonna tap this down to where I see an 1/8 right there. And I like that. I should see 3/8 or so right here. See that? That's underneath my door. So this is perfect. So now I can take my square and drag these lines over, and that'll be exactly where these need to be routed out. You want to make sure that you've got this oriented the right way. This is going to be, like I said, a left-hand swing into that space. We're going to go mark this. So this is going to come out, and just so you can see a better view of that, we're lining up that with this. And this, like I said, ensures that we have no issues on fit. We're going to take that same jig, line it up with our pencil lines here, and route this out. And we're going to take that same corner jig to square off these corners. And bam, we have the exact same offset. Because we're using that same jig here, it's going to give us the same exact offset on our jamb and on our door. So when it closes, the door will be flush with the jamb, which is exactly what we want. Next thing we're going to do is take our hinge and place it in our mortise. And then I've got this VIX bit or center finding bit on my drill. What that's going to do, that's going to not allow me to go through the hinge, but it will allow my bit to poke through, and that's going to find the center of each hole, which is very, very important on any kind of door work. Let me get into high speed here. Bam. See, here's every single one of those holes is exactly in the center of my hardware, which is just a quick way to get this perfect. You got to get a center finding bit. Company named VIX is the one that makes this one. I'll link that below. But that one is good. So we're just going to repeat that process here. At this point, I'm going to assemble the jamb. This is really simple. I'm just going to put my top jamb header on the top of the legs and put screws in it from the top down. That's going to hold it. I'm going to put 3 screws, and I'm going to pre-drill for these screws. So the jamb is already to size. I already figured out all my dimensions, but yeah, you're just making this jamb an inch shorter than it needs to be so you can have a 1/2 inch shimming space on each side. So here's our perfect jamb. Before we get this in, we're gonna plumb up our hinge side. So our hinge side is on our left, door swinging in. That is going to be right here. So what I like to do, I'll take my level and I'll check if this is plumb. So I'm just right on my rough framing, am I plumb? And then kind of micro adjust over here on the strike side. And we'll lay this down for now so it doesn't catch a gust of wind and fall. You can see my screws right there. 3 construction screws, 3.5 inches long. This thing is not going anywhere. I cut these 1/2 inch blocks. These are offcuts from our drawer material. That's 1/2 inch Baltic birch. And my shim locations are pretty simple for an 8-foot door. I'm gonna go up as high as I can reach. I'm gonna go right about eye level. We're gonna go down to like knee level. And we're gonna go low down here. This makes it easy now when I take my level. I can check here. I'm at high points, obviously, right? So I basically just raised that framing off the wall to shim off of that. And I actually really like that. I could probably pull out a little bit at bottom. Let me go down here. I actually really like that. I can now come in, bring my door. Amazingly, I don't even have to shim this side, at least from what I can see here. But I'll put my door in and then I'll check it. And sometimes if I have to adjust, I can just slide in 2 shims from the back. I mean, I still like it. All right, just to hold it in place, in with the 15 gauge, right at my shim. Very important that we're gonna put that nail and any fasteners, especially on stain grade, behind that door stop. Preferably when you have doors that are so heavy, you're gonna wanna use more than nails. So just that 115 gauge to hold it. The rest of the fasteners I use on this will be these 3.5 inch construction screws. For these screw locations, I'm looking in right where my block is. And I'm gonna go right in the middle of our jamb. Just make sure I'm there. As long as those screws are flush, our door stop will sit right on top of that. That looks good. We're just gonna do 2 hinges because all this hardware is coming out anyways. Yeah. After they finish it. Now we got to get the door in, and this is definitely going to be a 2-person job. Someone's going to have to kind of pry this thing up and kind of get it in position, and another guy's going to have to screw it in. Got the airbag here. Hair more up. Right. A little bit more. Hair more. I think that's it. You can see when I close the door, I've got a nice gap up there. Try to hold this up higher. See my gap? And then as we come down this way, consistent gap all the way through. And then you can see my hardware where I marked it. Those are gonna match up perfectly, as did the first 2. Keep following my gap, consistent gap all the way down. And that's literally just shimming with my blocks. So then I got to just do the standard, you know, shimming on this side, which I've shown a lot on the channel here. And this door will be done. Got my door shim now on my strike side. See my shims right there. Each shim has a single screw in it. But I want you to see this. I've got kind of a wind tunnel here, so it's hard to keep this door where I want it without the door stop on it. It keeps wanting to pull through. I did put one above the header. We usually don't do this. Like, I get questions about this, like, do we shim this? I mean, if it's a long span and it's a piece of like finger joint, even a piece of white oak like this, we probably would do that. But on simple like 3/0 doors like this, we're not really going to shim that. That's a stout piece of white oak and it's short, as you can see. It's not going to move, but if it helps you sleep better at night, you can definitely throw in some shims right there and screw them in as well. And this wind is pushing. But if you see my reveals right here, I've got my 1/8 at the strike side and my 1/8 on top. So very pleased with the way this one has come out. And another thing, you should, when the door is in the closed position, I should have the door flush with the jamb, the outside edge of this jamb, all the way down. And this door is just blowing in the wind. Like, I'm not even touching it. It's just the suction in here. But, okay, now it's blowing that way. There we go, now it's blowing back this way. The face of the door is flush with the edge of the jamb. And you guys can see, I've got that the whole way up. Hopefully you can see that. So there you go, guys. That's my method for hanging one of these big 400 pounders. And it works for any kind of door, really. Probably a bit of an information overload in this video, but if you like this kind of stuff, hopefully you enjoyed it. But you can do the same thing with any door. That's the beauty of it. It's a simple method to get it done. There's tons of other methods out there. This is just the one I use it today. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna get on some other tasks right here. I'm gonna trim these shims, start casing this. So I'm gonna cut this one right here and then catch up with you guys on the next one. We'll be getting into trim closets. Maybe we'll have this laundry chute done over here. We're getting that thing built right there. So still more to come, quite a bit out here.